morning, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me. Down the inside, absolutely possible scene.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakely will dive to the inside.
We're robust. We got our elbows out.
Ronar takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Yarda Watmere is your champion.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. And welcome back to PSGL here for round 4 of PC Tier 2. We head over to the Principality in Monaco. Once again, it is myself, Max Ring. I'll be taking you through all the action this joined alongside your regular PC commentator, Omi. How are you on this Thursday evening, my friend?
Hello Max, hello everyone. Delighted to be here as per normal. It should be a very exciting round, but to answer your question, I am doing quite well. We've got Monaco. We only get to experience this once in a PSGL game cycle, so it is always a special event. You do have lots of lull periods, you do have plenty of chaos, we always get a bit of fun, and we are coming off a break week as well, so there's quite a lot of buzz and energy to get this back underway.
There certainly is indeed. Of course, if you do not know what happened last time out, let's quickly take you through the standings. The drivers are heading into qualifying. We'll quickly head to standings now. You can see here are the drivers' standings. It was Nelson Alves who took his first pole position in his PSGL career, instantly followed up by his first win since season 39 in PF2. But it's Tony Hirtala who finished second in that race, who leads the championship standings. He's 7 points clear of Rapassa and Alves. Rapassa had a really disappointing afternoon in Texas, followed by Leo Lund in 4th. He's a further point back from Rapassa and Alves. He's on 21 points, and it's Sergio Sabrino with 18, followed by Gregory Prajibal 14, and then Joe Murphy also on that 14. Well, picking up that podium last time out in Texas. Then it's Liam Stevens, Diego Zorzo, Pasquale Ranieri, Cameron Dowds, Cameron Adams, Conrad Bohm, Laurie Tulke, Eden Lutt, Tudor Priskin, Isaac Leet, and then finally Ryan Modler rounds out your point scorers this season. Everybody else has not scored a point thus far. But Omi, it was an exciting race last time out in Texas. I think this time around might be in for a little bit of a more slower, more strategical affair.
Yes, and one of the main reasons for that, the only round on the calendar where we will be having a 2-stop. Of course, that is a rule in real life from this year, so the game has it, meaning that we've got to follow it as well here at PSGL. So, you've got a bonus point available for pole position in this qualifying session. You will get 2 pit stops that are mandated to the entire field to try and improve on their positions through pit stops and strategy, and it's going to be exciting to see how that happens. That'll be later on, but first of all, we've got 18 minutes of qualifying. We've already navigated our way 3 minutes of those as the field attacks their way through. We're watching right now our championship leader, Tony Hirtala.
Yeah, Hirtala is going to be the first driver to be setting a competitive lap time as he now heads down into the Nouvelle chicane and actually takes a hop, skip and a jump too much and invalidates the lap time. Then we've got one of the McLarens. Is it Leo Lund? Yes, it is. He's now coming in to said Nouvelle chicane. A difficult chicane to get right in terms of track limits because you want to take as much curb as possible as you now head up into to back, down to 5th gear. Slowly bring that power back on as you fly your way through the swimming pool chicane through part 1 and part 2. And once again, nicely done on the track limits. Of course, big danger on Monaco, keeping out of the walls, and Leo Lund did tap it ever so slightly, but it's not cost him too much speed. This is the benchmark for this evening. Lund to the line. What's it going to be? A 1 minute 7.9. Who is going to beat that?
Leo Lund has been in the top 10 in both qualifying sessions that he has done. He wasn't with us in the season opening round. Ranieri is to second. Joe Murphy, though, coming off his first podium in PCF2, now is the lead driver in the field. He's joined by Luca Rapassa, who is into second place as well.
Oh, big incident here at the back. Ghosting, of course. Oh, and another car. Ryan Modler, Diego Zorzo, and I think that was the Haas of Tony Hitala. No, it's a V-Carb, sorry. So I think that could have been there of Reyes Imtiaz. All involved in all one moment there as Imtiaz comes to the line of 22.9. But of course, another big issue. I say keeping it out of the wall, but there is also no ghosting. And for Imtiaz, Zorzo and Modler, all there at the back. It's such a narrow circuit on me. We've just seen a 3-car pile-up in qualifying, and Ryan Modler, before he's really got his session underway, is out.
His words, quite a sensitive car after that moment. If anyone was watching the F5 just a moment ago, their qualifying session, we had a car flying in that. So it's been the tradition here today for PSGL at Monaco to have cars absolutely everywhere as well, including grazing the walls in the way that Tom Roberts is currently doing through now the second sector. He is navigating his way by as he tries to get a lap time on the board. But yes, quite a dramatic moment. Well, we had Macau 1 week ago in real life. That's the type of things that you get at Macau. You get cars losing it and everyone clattering into the side, but it's not something that you often see at this level, especially in the first few minutes of qualifying.
Yeah, especially with such high caliber drivers. Reyes Imtiaz actually went for another run. I don't know if he picked up any damage from that. I know he didn't. So he's actually managed to get his car out unscathed. And he went to 9th fastest. So Tom Roberts, as he's now about to finish off his lap in the Kick Sauber. Of course, as Omi just mentioned, you do see that a lot at Macau. And you wouldn't expect to see it here in Monaco. Even though it is very narrow, Tom Roberts goes 8th fastest. But of course, I say you don't really expect it here. That kind of gives flashbacks to the F2 race in the real life season, where one car went into the wall, everybody else just piled in and followed along. I think next on the lap is going to be Rishan Jacobs, now heading through the middle sector. Of course, very technical, this middle sector, and I think definitely this circuit is going to be one where it's a driver's circuit, so it's not so much about setup. It's more about you driving the car yourself and just having the confidence to go as close to the walls as you can.
And qualifying has been a bit of a struggle for Rishan Jacobs as well, especially when it does come to one lap pace. So any good result will mean a lot. Now he was very close to a pole position last season when it came to Las Vegas. Was so disappointed to see that slip away. But it has been such a long time since he's been able to fight his way through to the front of the field. It won't be the front of the field on run 1 for him. It's P6 at the moment. Into the Rascas we go with Lut as well, the Haas driver. The championship leader still needs to set a lap time on the board. He is on an out lap. Let's see Lut over the line though. Let's see what he can do. P3, good effort, and it gets him close to P2 man, Luca Rapassa at the moment.
It certainly does indeed. Quite a big field spread at the moment. 1.3 seconds covering the 13 cars that have set lap times, as we are waiting on drivers now to come out for those second runs. One of them being Pasquale Ranieri, currently on the 1 minute 8.1s. As he gets so close to that traffic leaving the pit lane there. That was so nearly another aeroplane multi-car collision between these drivers as we now head up into Massenet. And this, of course, such a difficult part of the circuit to get the power down. It's like driving on ice as you jump over these bumps and then down into Mirabeau, up by 0.5 in that first sector, with him just in front of Rishan Jacobs. But I think a lot of the time to be found here, Romy, is through this middle part of the lap. And he's made a mistake into the Lowe's hairpin and decided to abort it.
Yep, he knows that the margins are going to be close, and if you make any error, it won't be competitive it will not be a good lap time, especially on what you managed before. The circuit will be evolving all the time. We are currently watching Hietala, who is just trying to get the time on the board as he drifts his way through the hairpin. Now makes his way down through the next few couple of corners as he arrives down into the tunnel. And he is going to be making his way down towards the Nouvelle chicane. Makes or breaks your lap this part of the circuit. You can see drivers invalidate it, you can see drivers hit the inside wall, or you can see drivers absolutely nail it and push on and get themselves ready for Tabac, which is coming up in a few moments time. It all goes by very quickly. You're pushing through the walls all the time around this circuit. Over the curb he goes, into the wall once again momentarily, but he sends the car in. Wanted to kind of turn in a bit earlier at that precise moment. Had to get out of it to make sure he didn't clatter with the wall. He makes his way through Anthony Nose up towards the line. What is the first lap time for Hietala? It is up to second place, and it is close with Joe Murphy.
Yes, it is certainly close to Joe Murphy. Only a total 4 thousandths of a second separating those two as Luca Rapassa's now on a run. He's up by a 10th in the first sector, so he could now rival for pole position in this qualifying session. Of course, at the midway stage, so of course these times are crucial to at least get a lap time on the board, but this is not going to be the final finishing order as we now make it in to the Nouvelle chicane. Rapassa lovely over that inside curb, gets a lovely exit as well, a little bit of wheel spin, but he won't mind that as he now heads through to back through the middle sector split. He's up by a little bit more, nearly just a 10th and a half through that middle sector, through the final part of that was so clean, through the second part of the swimming pool chicane, up into Anthony Nose now, a little slide on the exit of the Rasgas, DRS open for Luca Rapassa. Can he bounce back from a disappointing Texas? He can. He's now to the top of the times, a 7.5 as Prajibal goes into 10th.
Yep, and immediately displaced as he gets put down. Can Nelson Alves try find the time as well? Our most recent pole sitter was fighting away with the car as he made his way around the final corner. Still an improvement. P4, the second row of the grid for the Williams man. Let's look to the response from Joe Murphy. He's been displaced by Luca Rapassa, who's gone top, but Murphy has been absolutely flying. Not on this specific lap though. He is down by 0.2 of a second and he can't respond to take back pole position. So it is Rapassa, then Murphy, then Hietala, Alves and Lutz. Let's take a look at Imtiaz, who has ignored whatever happened earlier on with that mini pile-up that we had. He's continued to push on and he's looking to improve from P14.
Yes, he certainly is indeed. Unfortunately for Joe Murphy, lost 4 tenths in that final sector, so does have plenty of time on the cards. Just needs to hook that lap up, and it's so difficult to do around here at Monaco. 4 tenths up in that middle sector for Imtiaz, and he's invalidated over the second part of the chicane. Was looking to try break into those 1:07s, would have potentially put him up into 7th place, but no improvement there. Diego Zorzo, he's not on a lap time either. I think a lot of these drivers now just going to be coming into pit lane. What about Liam Stevens? Is he pushing on? I think he is at the moment in his Aston Martin. We'll have a look at this middle sector split for Liam. A little tap of the wall at the back. He's up by a 10th of a second, so this could be a crucial lap time now for the Aston Martin.
It really can. Lots of the PCF2 drivers have been talking about his pace. Well, he won't show his pace this time by. We'll have to wait for that in a few minutes' time. He's into the pit lane, abandons that. A bit of a scruffy final sector there as he was fighting away with it. Rishan Jacobs here, he is in P9, backing out of it. Lutt is about to begin an outlap. And with how the Monaco circuit is, with it of course being short, with it being narrow, with it being so tight and there being so much margin, we're getting something, Max, that we don't actually usually get to see. Laps on laps on laps. We haven't had a moment like we would get in qualifying sessions, usually in PSGL, where we look at a static view in the pit lane. There's been so many drivers on the circuit at different times, trying something different and trying to improve. It's been laps across this entire session and no lull periods. It's, I guess, one of the bonuses. Everyone loves real-life qualifying at Monaco, and it's delivering here in PSGL as well.
It certainly is, as Keaton Lutt is now up by a 10th of a second in that first sector. Could he now rival potentially for that front row of the grid? Taps the wall ever so slightly out of Lower Mirabeau as we head into Portier and now out into the tunnel. Just look at the car fly by through that right-hander before making his way onto the brakes here for the Nouvelle chicane. Keep your nerve here, Keaton, as he now makes his way through the Nouvelle chicane and up into to back. Middle sector split coming up in a matter of moments. And and he's lost a bit of time in that middle part of the lap, only up by 200ths as he now slides through the second part of Mirabone and into the wall. Keaton Lutt is out of qualifying, just like we saw from Ryan Modler, just taking a bit too much liberties, and another car has been bitten by the walls here at Monaco.
We've seen drivers dangerously close to it. Lutt hitting it at that precise moment. Now, Rishan Jacobs, are you able to avoid that on his journey round the lap this time by? We make our way down through towards Portier now, and it's such a critical exit as well. It determines your run all the way through this tunnel section down towards the Nouvelle chicane, but a P9, he'll want to try and improve that massively. I have mentioned qualifying has been a bit of a struggle, especially on this game cycle. That also applied to Nelson Alves. He's really been improving though, and you can see how much Jacobs is pushing on as well, up by a 1/10.5. Now we go through the part of the circuit where Keaton Lutt retired, and Rishan Jacobs is able to keep all 4 tyres attached. He's got the front wing as well. He's made his way through Anthony Nose. Let's see whether this lap time is going to be an improvement. It looked like on the evidence of the second sector, when you add it all up, it is P6, so 1 minute 7.887. Now let's look to the Italian. Let's look to Ranieri.
Yeah, let's see what Ranieri can do now on his lap time as he now heads into that Nouvelle chicane. Invalidates, unfortunate there for Ranieri, and he will have to come back into pit lane. Progibel has actually set the exact same lap time as the Ferrari driver we're currently on board with, and his teammate Leo Lund is now gearing up for an attack on this circuit. It's so close throughout this field. Any sort of improvement could see yourself jump up a couple of places. Now we'll look to the Swede of Leo Lund to start his lap. But the big issue here now, Omi, is look how many drivers are leaving the pit lane. He could potentially come under a little bit of traffic at the end of this lap.
Yep, they're all going to be all over the place, so this could be a bit of trouble for the pole sitter and the race winner from Spa round 2 earlier on this season, and he's already invalidated, so forget about the traffic becoming an issue later on. The lap goes on the exit of Sanderot as he tried to take too much curb. So now we look to Nelson Alves, another contender for pole position. Can he make it 2 in 2 races? And he's not even had any in 39 in total. He managed to get it on his 40th start last time out. Could he also do it on his 41st? He'll have to find a few tenths of a second. He's right now making his way through the opening sector. Let's look at how this opening sector split is looking.
Down by 200ths of a second is Nelson Alves, trying to really carry on this momentum. Pole race victory, and is it going to be a second pole of the season and second pole in his PSGL career here now in Monaco? Of course, the circuit where qualifying is oh so important. Even with the mandatory 2-stop strategy, we'll see having track position is the key. So as we make our way through the Nouvelle chicane, Nelson Alves now heads up into that middle sector split. What's it going to be for the Williams driver? He's still down on the lap. So far for Nelson, it's looking like a best of a second row start. Has he done anything though through this final sector? A Max Verstappen-esque sector 3 to maybe put himself onto the front row of the grid. Out of Anthony Nose we come. DRS open for Alves. What's it going to be? It is second row of the grid. 1 minute 7.6. Plenty of time found in the final sector as Sorso, no it's not Sorso, sorry, that's Bohm to the line, and he goes 5th fastest.
P5 for Bohm, and Alves really sent it. He was like win it or bin it stuff on that lap. Here is Liam Stevens about to begin a push lap. We finally get to Diego Zorzo, who needs a lap time. He's in P15. Ryan Modler, of course, retired from the session. Diego Zorzo is the only driver with no time on the board. Get rid of that. He's ahead of his teammate. He's moving up to P5. Joe Murphy was on provisional pole earlier on. Over the line. He won't get on pole again, and it's exactly the same time. He's matched Luca Rapassa's lap time, but because Rapassa said it first, Murphy's behind. Hietala coming over the line as well, and he improves his time but not position. He's P5. Rapassa still has it. Now we look over to Leo Lund, P4 in the points battle, looking to try and improve from 10th position, and he goes up to P6.
Brilliant lap time there from Lund. Rapassa wasn't able to improve. Who's next to the line? I think that was Nelson Alves who just took the line. Is anybody else looking for an improvement though at this current moment in time? It could be Rishan Jacobs now pushing on through the first sector, but for Joe Murphy it is utter disappointment as it currently stands, of course, with matching Luca Rapassa here at Monaco. The fine margins between the walls have just seen fine margins in terms of time. As, of course, Rapassa, the Dutchman, is looking to bounce back. And has he bounced back from a disappointing Texas by taking pole position in the exact race afterwards? Of course, the man second in the standings as Larry Tulke has gone to 4th place as well. So brilliant lap time from him. Jacobs, I think, is the last driver to settle up and into the wall. He goes. Once again, the balls bite. You try and find any ounce of speed, any ounce of grip. And unfortunately for Rishan Jacobs, he's gone straight into the wall. And the McLaren gets out the way quite nicely of Leo Lund. And that is going to be that here on me. Luca Rapassa takes pole position. And that's how you want to bounce back from disappointment.
How about that? A first ever pole position for Luca Rapassa. Well, he's taken 4 wins at this level. He's had 10 podiums in PCF2, but he's never had a pole. And guess what? We've got another driver who adds his name to the list. After the season of Angelo Di Ortenzio, the way he dominated that last season, he, of course, got himself to the most wins in PCF2 as well at 10 in terms of the all-time record across his time. Luca Rapassa and Nelson Alves, Gregory Prezibel, all of these drivers have come in this season and they've all been able to find pole positions, their first as well. So it has been so wide open. It has been so great to see. And after Angelo Di Ortenzio took all poles last season but 2 this season, we're just racking up new pole sitters everywhere we look.
We certainly are indeed, and this is your order for this evening's Monaco Grand Prix. Of course, with that mandatory 2-stop, Luca Rapassa and Joe Murphy set the same time, but Rapassa's testing it earlier on this session. He takes pole position from the Englishman. Then it's Nelson Alves third, who backs up his last outing in Texas quite well, followed by Larry Tulke, Tony Atala, Leo Lund, Diego Zorzo, Bohm, Lutt, and Jacobs round out your top 10. Then it's Ranieri, Stevens, Prajibal, Imtiaz, Roberts, and Modler, who had that crash early on, wasn't able to set a lap time. They round out your grid. And, of course, it's delight for Luca Rapassa here, Omi. But if you're Joe Murphy, you were up by 2 tenths in that middle sector. You've dropped a little bit of time in the final one. And it's just that 1,000th of a second that's taken that pole position here in the streets right from you. And we've got rain in the race!
Well, qualifying was exciting. Throw in a little bit of rain. There we go. We're looking at the shot in the pit lane with rain coming down. And if you thought Monaco was already going to be crazy, then how about this? We've got a recipe for disaster then out there on the circuit. And here we go. That qualifying was great. Let's throw in a bit of rain in there too. Just make it a little bit more crazier.
Let's just add a little bit of spice to that, the game said. Of course, this is going to be a rather interesting one here in Monaco. Quickly, though, we'll take you through the circuit. Evening. We have 3.37 kilometers, or 2.074 miles, 19 turns the drivers will attack this evening. 1 DRS zone, of course, detection zone just after the second part of the swimming pool chicane and down that main straight. But that is your circuit for this evening. Underway ever so shortly. These drivers, of course, they may have been on dry setups. Of course, you're already running maximum downforce anyway. All it changes is a little bit of suspension geometry. And then you're going to be set for these conditions. But around arguably the hardest circuit on the calendar, Omi, this is really going to be a challenge and really separates the men from the boys.
It really, really does. Experience comes down to this. Here we go.
5 red lights. It's Rapassa from Murphy on the front row, and we are underway here in Monaco. And it's a good start from the Dutchman, who's been able to hold on to that P1 off the line. Wait, I think there's been a little bit of a desync here as Leo Lund's apparently leading this race. But it's Luca Rapassa from Joe Murphy as he's trying to attack now around the outside. It's the Alpine up into Massenet. There's some moves further back with Tony Hitzala. You can see they're all 2x2 heading at the top of the hill before we head down into Mirabeau. The Haas and the Mercedes cars both squabbling fighting over individual positions. Lund's been able to sort himself out. He's now back to his normal position as we now head into the Lowe's hairpin. Round the outside goes Keaton Lutz on Tony Atala. That's somebody in the wall in the background. That's Pasquale Ranieri who's gone into the wall. A virtual safety car has been called. Not sure how many cars have got damage. I can certainly see some there on Ranieri and also Gregory Prajibal. Rishan Jacobs going extremely slowly as well. Not sure if he accidentally overtook some cars. But drama in the mid-pack here, Omi. But Luca Rapace again, and the dream gets away from pole.
Was indeed. So we're under the virtual safety car now. And yeah, they're all kind of in normal hairpin fashion down here in Monaco. Everyone just got on the brakes, and we saw cars clattering into the back of each other as everyone concertinaed up at that precise moment. So don't be surprised if you got damage. It was absolutely wild stuff. I think Liam Stevens was the Aston Martin who went straight into the wall, directly straight on. The green flags are flying once again. We are racing. It looked like a good jump there from Rapace. 8/10 is the margin that he's got. So now let's look for the drivers coming in, and you can see there's a long list of them. So Stevens, I was correct in that he went straight into the wall. He's got a bit of damage. So does Bohm. So does Imtiaz. So does Ranieri, and so does Prajibal. So there's 5 drivers involved in the opening lap melee that was going on further back, and they all need front wings after the opening tour.
Yes, they certainly do. I don't know if there's a little bit of come in the way of Leo Lund because he, of course, was glitched up to first on the opening tour, and now he's had a little bit of tracking in the game, saying it was a whole minute behind his nearest competitor, Larry Tulke. Has sorted himself out as they get through that first sector, but that carnage on the opening lap has split this field up. 11 cars remain, so potentially for Ryan Modler and Tom Roberts, their bad qualifyings weren't as bad as they thought, but they are now 3 seconds off the field in front. Try and find their way up into those top spots. Of course, look how difficult it is to get the car stopped here, Omi. Of course, these conditions are going to make things a lot worse, and Roberts does have quite a heftier chunk of wing damage there.
He really, really does. Modler's basically pushing his way through right now. And you can see how close it is getting. Roberts just parking it at the moment. Hietala's also coming in. So Hietala also looks like is diving it in towards the pit lane. Our top 2, and most of them go on as they currently dive in. So that's just to get a pit stop out of the way for Hietala. So that's why he's coming. But Roberts, of course, will need a change of the front wing as we were watching him defending for his life due to the damage that he got on the previous tour.
Yes, he certainly was as Roberts comes in. Of course, even though it is raining, the mandatory 2-stop is still in action. So even though these drivers got damaged, they have picked up their first stop. They have ticked that off the list. Of course, 39 laps of racing here this evening. It is going to be a lengthy one in terms of laps, and these drivers will start to feel it. Of course, one of the longer races, it's going to be a race of attrition as well here, isn't it, Omi? Not too many overtakes will be made, especially in these conditions. Makes it 10 times harder. But there's going to be a little bit of mental fatigue come those final few laps, because, of course, the corners come at you so fast and so quickly, and there's such few and far between gaps on the circuit. You're constantly just going to be thinking about looking at the next apex, and that's where the mistakes can be made.
It is such high focus. At this elite level, it is all out, just trying to nail every single corner. That's the approach, and they come at you for such a long time, for 39 laps in total, and you're having to also do it at the best level, because if you're not, then you know there's going to be someone behind you, and there's going to be someone all over the rear, looking left, looking right, trying to navigate their way by. And, you know, while it is hard to overtake, if you lose that focus, you can easily smash it into the wall. I think that's quite obvious, but also, you know, you can leave a door open, and that's what you can't do around this circuit. You cannot leave an open door. You have the greatest chance of defending and making sure the rival can't get by, but you need to be full focus and making sure that you're nailing every corner, covering any part of the circuit that they attempt to go to. And it really needs focus, this circuit, no matter what you're trying to do out here on this circuit. But yeah, I guess Monaco, it's always been a challenge, even at this high level. and the drivers, it is something that they'll be used to be fair, from this game, not being able to make overtakes quite often, but it gets put right to the hardest difficulty when we arrive into round number 4.
Yeah, it is certainly a race where the mistakes will creep in, and it can be, even though we're quite early into a race that can define a championship, because of course, if you have one bad race, it then starts to spiral, and once we get to that midway stage of the season, that's when you don't want to be spiraling at all, as I sort of think we just saw Keaton Luck go into the wall, just about didn't pick up any front wing damage, of course, retired from qualifying in an incident. But, of course, when you have such a long string of races, if you have one bad race and then the next one you follow that up and you're not able to respond to that, it slowly starts to snowball, doesn't it, Omi? And once you get potentially 2-3 rounds down the road and you still haven't picked that form back up, it could be your championship chances over, all thanks to this race here in Monaco where you've made a mistake that you shouldn't really have done.
I mean, qualifying awards 1 point, but every single round there is a reason why we still emphasize that and make a big thing of it, because it does come down to points, the championship. There will be so many times across the season where we'll look back at certain races, and drivers individually will do that as well. We'll probably be here all day if we attempted to do that, but I'm sure the drivers would after every single season, if they were basically points away from a championship. They'll look back at where it went wrong, which were the races that costed them, and they all will add up. They all will add up. There'll be no one here who scores a perfect season. I can definitely assure you that. Every season could have been done a little bit better, but that's just the thing. And we've got a wide open season after the most dominant F2 season we've ever had in season 40 by Angelo Diotentio. Now we've got a complete one where we don't know who will be champion. We've got drivers who've basically turned a page of the book in terms of drivers like Joe Murphy. One good result last season to basically secure himself a drive for this season in F2 rather than being demoted, and now suddenly he's been a star. He's got a podium, he's been in contention for a pole, he's now fighting for the podium once again and even for the win. So it has been such a changeover from last season within the same game cycle, and it's been really, really great to watch and great to see that we've got an unpredictable season even at what is a tough phase of the game cycle.
Yeah, it really is going to be quite interesting to see how the rest of this season plays out. And just how this championship battle does evolve. Of course, talking about those bad runs and snowballs and races where you can look back on. I mean, look at Luca Rapassa. Last time out, didn't score a single point in the whole evening. And then here today, has already picked up that point for pole position, is currently leading this race by quite a healthy margin over Joe Murphy. 1.2 seconds is that gap. But it just shows if you can't turn things around, you could be stuck in a slump for a little while. But then on the other hand, you can instantly turn things around and get straight back from where you left off, as we now see Rishan Jacobs into pit lane. It'll be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to Liam Stevens in this one. And also a big question as well here, Omi. I know these drivers have made their first pit stop so early. Will there be any? Will the rain stop later on? Potentially turn to dry conditions.
Always that possibility that we could see things just change around that slight bit. Who knows? Could we see the rain fade away and us head back over to the dry, normal conditions, which would completely change the race as well. And we're taking a look now at Laurie Chalky. A bit of a slide as he made his way through Portier at the moment. He's been running closely to the back of Nelson Alvarez. Laurie Chalky, a driver who has never stood on a PC F2 podium, has though got one pole position in his career in the second tier, also a top 5 finish. So right now he'd be making that 2, so it is going to be interesting to see whether he can contend for the podium, whether he can continue in this top 5 position, an F3 title contender from a few seasons ago. But a good race, a good event so far. But can he continue that? That's the question that we'll be asking. Fastest laps continue to be improved lap on lap on lap, and pit stops continue on lap number 8 of the race.
They certainly do. And is it just me, Omi? Or has it stopped raining? Talking about the rain stopping, because I can't see anything on my screen. I don't know if that's me just going a little bit crazy, but to me, there is no rain falling onto this circuit, and the track is getting very much bone dry at this current stage. As Tom Roberts is into pit lane, I think this could certainly be our answer, unless it's for damage, on if it is dry enough for slicks or not, because at the moment, I am not seeing any rain at all. It is slicks. It has stopped raining.
There we go. On to the slicks we go. Tom Roberts is going to go for it. Medium compound of tyres on the car. Foot flat to the floor, and we make our way back out onto the circuit. Well, this is going to completely change things when it comes to strategy. He's nearly put it straight into the wall as he rejoins the circuit. He's going to have to get those tyres up to the temperature window, and Roberts, well, he's the first one to blink. The rain has indeed stopped, Max, so I think we talked about that at the perfect time of that point being valid, but he's sliding and fighting away with the car right now.
Yeah, it might just be a little bit too early for the slicks. The track's still too greasy at the moment as we see Leo Lund now into the pit lane. He's gone to a Settler hard compound of tyres. But of course here as well. Oh, there's a yellow flag. That's for Tom Roberts. He's off. He's off and into the wall at Lower Mirabeau. As he picks up any front wing damage. No, he is not. But just look at the rear of that car sliding around. Lund's certainly gone too early. There's just no grip at all at the moment on those slick compounder tyres. Potentially give it another 2, 3 or 3 laps. We could see that grip start to come through. But just look at that, straight on over the chicane, and 10 seconds to go with it. Oh, it's been a disastrous evening for Tom Roberts, slowest of the time runners in qualifying, and has now made an absolute blunder on the strategy. How is Leo Lund now taking affairs?
Well, he's losing positions, I can definitely tell you that. Oh, he's still going side by side with Rishan Jacobs. Can he keep it pointing in the right direction? No, he's gone off. He's gone off and made the line very tight for anyone who's going to try and make their way by. Oh, he's got a little bit of a tap there as well as he tries to rejoin the road. And he's finally got himself back in it. Those hard tyres will not be doing any good at the moment. Roberts has come into the pit lane and retired the car. That's day done for him. But yes, possibly slightly too early, I think it is fair to say, Max, in terms of going onto the slick compound of tyres.
Yeah, the track just still a little bit too slippery and slidey. You are on a slip and slide at this point if you're on those slick tyres. But as I say, just give it another 2 or 3 laps. As the grip starts to come to that tyre, the more they go round on these intermediates, the more it will start to dry out. The line will start to form. As we can see, Lund, you can see he's already starting to get a little bit more grip as he starts to generate heat for that tyre. But it's just not enough at the moment. I say give it to potentially lap 12 or 13. See everybody else into the pit lane for slicks. But the opportunity this now opens for the likes of Hietala and also Rishan Jacobs as well here, Omi, is the fact that now these guys have already made a stop and they could potentially go to the end as we see some contact between the V-Carb and the Haas. As Tom Roberts' car, even though he's retired, still looking like it's trying to do laps of the circuit.
Oh, still enjoying the Thursday drive at the moment and becoming a bit of a hurdle for everyone else. So the AI is enjoying itself. Let's hope it doesn't cause any carnage further back. Bohm's trying to get himself by. This is turning into a proper Monaco race for PSGL. It's traditions that we hold it in season 2 of the game cycle, round number 4, and we're here doing it once again as everyone tries to avoid that kickstart. But that's still running and making its way into the on the exit of the Nouvelle chicane as well. But back over to the serious stuff, back over to Leo Lund and the hard compound of tyres as he tries to make his way by. There we go, there was the kickstart. We're finally pulling off the road.
Had to do a whole lap to find an escape road, but it finally did it, and that may have just caused a little bit of chaos to everybody else. But yeah, look at this for Leo Lund. It's not time at all, not ready. I think he's really just holding on to the fact when it does come out. Of course, he's doing a wingless McLaren at the moment, a side end plate, should I say, McLaren at this stage, and he's coming back onto the intermediates. He's had enough of that one. Yeah, the gamble did not work there for the Swede, and he's nearly going a lap down to Luca Rapassa. But of course, what I was just saying before we saw Tom Roberts' car there, Omi, was the fact for Hitala, Jacobs, and everybody below, they've already done their first pit stop. The likes of Rapassa, Murphy, Alves, and the drivers that haven't come in yet, they've still got to make 2. So for Tony Hitala here, your championship leader, he could have potentially just played a blinder and seen himself now really in contention for this race victory. He's gapped Luca Rapassa 24 seconds. That could slowly come down by the time Rapassa has to take that second pit stop.
It really could. The rain to dry conditions has added another strategy element into this. With a two-stop strategy, there was always going to be some stuff, but I think our race has been set up in an absolutely extraordinary and brilliant way. We're rotating our way through Portier with our race leader, Luca Rapassa. He's got a 2.5 seconds advantage at the moment. Does the Red Bull man to Joe Murphy, who you can watch now in your picture, attacking Nouvelle Chicane, and doing so with a good racing line through there at the moment in time. And he's also got a further gap to Alves and Tulki, and they're very much spread out, and they've got a huge advantage to P5 driver Diego Zorzo. 10.6 seconds separate Tulki and Zorzo at the moment in time. So that is how that is looking on the circuit in terms of our timing boards. We do usually get to see plenty of gaps that form in a Monaco race, and we're seeing exactly that, but it's still all set up brilliantly. And we talked about how important the strategy phase would be, and I think we're all just right now preparing for that to come into fruition.
Yes, we certainly are just waiting for that slick period to come into play. Track just not drying off like it should be, but of course the real difficulty for these drivers as well here at Omi, it's not just the fact of the grip not being there, it's the fact that the track looks bone dry. That's the issue with of course being on a street circuit like Monaco potentially, where especially at night you can't see the difference in if it's slippery, if it's shiny, if the surface isn't ready or not. So that's why potentially Roberts and Lund both went onto those slick compounder tyres, because they thought it was time. It looks like it's time as well. If you showed this to somebody outside of this, you would think, oh yeah, that's definitely time. It looks bone dry, but it's not. It's just so greasy. That surface, all the oils lying on top, they're just so slippery. And for these drivers, it adds that real conundrum to the race as we actually see Alves and Tulki into pit lane. Are we finally at that period for the slicks, or is this once again just a little bit too early?
Third time of asking. Let's see how this one goes. On go the hard compound of tyres for Tulki, but on go another set of the intermediate compound of tyres for Alves. So he's gone for those intermediates once again. Whether that was him not selecting the tyre before he came in, that could definitely be a possibility. That's close as Tulki rejoins and Hietala gets himself ahead and on by. Gregory's also come in further back. But yes, pit stops coming and we're going to have another go at this.
We certainly are. That grip does look slightly better on the slicks. Not too much, but it's certainly a lot more drivable at this stage. You could certainly live on the island now on that hard compounder tyres. Still, I just don't think, because those intermediates at the moment, those green wall tyres, just giving that little bit too much of a purchase. This is the only part of the circuit that you get full grip, because it is bone dry through the tunnel, of course being covered, as you now make your way down into the chicane. Late on the brakes from Tulki, as Murphy's now into pit lane. Is this going to be him onto a set of the slicks as Rapassa sets another fastest lap? The time keeps tumbling and tumbling on those intermediates, and a medium tyre for Joe Murphy now sees him onto the slicks. I do believe potentially in 2 or 3 laps those slicks will definitely be quicker, because what we saw from Tulki was so much better than what we saw from Lund.
It really, really was. You can see visibly that the circuit has evolved. Of course, you can see it from the cars driving, but as you described, Max, it is basically looking pretty much the same when you look at the circuit as well. You need a flood to identify that we've actually got proper big standing water out there on the circuit, and it is still not drivable for the slicks. But yes, we possibly have got to that phase where we have got the slick compound of tyres pushing on. I think this is a good little comparison, because we've got Murphy in 4th, you've got Alves in 5th, you've got mediums versus intermediates at the moment. Alves absolutely pushing Murphy through, and I think he's going to stand on the power and could actually even try possibly go for an overtake if a door opens. It's just over a tenth of a second at the moment, but the corner of Nouvelle isn't wide enough for a dive bomb opportunity there unless he was already alongside. Into the pit lane we go with Luca Rapassa. Now this is going to be interesting to see where he is going to rejoin in comparison to Murphy. What will be the gap between those two drivers? You're looking at Murphy right now, still trying to fight off Alves. Ryan Modler's coming to the pit lane, and there is Rapassa. He is going to rejoin the road and will be well clear. There's Diego Zorza making his way down towards turn 1 as well.
Yes, he is very much clear. Is Luca Rapassa. He's about 4 seconds clear. He was 1.2 by the time they came into pit lane. It just shows maybe those slicks a little bit slidey for now, but the grip certainly is coming. You can see it from Luca Rapassa as well. The way he's able to slowly get on that power more and more each time. The card's certainly not stepping out as much. I think those slicks are now the right call. The Dutchman has timed that to sheer perfection, in my opinion, because now is certainly the time where the slicks are looking quicker. And for Luca Rapassa, he did not leave it a lap too late. He did not come in a lap too early. Timed it just right. He's not pulling away from Zorzo, but the crucial thing is as well here, Omi, he's not losing time to Zorzo either.
If it's the fine line in the middle, that works. That works for your race leader because he knows that, well, with every meter that we run in this race, might be at a slow rate, but, you know, it will be getting quicker and quicker and quicker. Intermediate driver Leo Lund at the moment still finding the fastest lap time around the circuit, that time by Zorza. Finally begin to actually work, so it all looks quite good out there on the circuit for him. Murphy still has to try and shake off Alves, who has gone completely different to anyone else in this field.
Oh.
Wow.
We've just had a lobby disconnect. Great. Right then, everybody. While we quickly get us back into the lobby, I hope Ryan Modler has kept it on friends only. We'll quickly head to an intermission. We'll be back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that, and we've just joined back the lobby, and Ray's MTS has decided, you know what? Who needs front downforce? He's missing the whole of his front wing. And on his screen, of course, he will have his front wing, so don't worry, he's not actually destroyed the car that much. But yes, we are now back into the lobby. Sorry about that brief disconnect. No idea what happened there. Everything was running smoothly. One of those F1 game things. But anyway, I mean, we are back into the race. Not much has seemed to have happened, except from Conrad Bohm has unfortunately retired from the race.
Yeah, Absolutely, that has happened in that space of time. But when we say nothing's really happened, I mean, you know, Murphy and Alves, they're still running inside 1 second of each other. So we've not even seen a proper, you know, pace switch or anything. It's just we've left the race momentarily and we've come back to it. It's still looking in a similar position. Jacobs makes his way into the pit lane for the hard compound of tyres. We've only got 2 drivers now running on those inters. That is Leo Lund, that is Nelson Alves, who I was just referencing in that P3 spot. By the way, Rapasa with a 5-second advantage, so he is absolutely dominating this race. He's led off pole position and he's not looked back ever since. It's been a great drive so far from him as Luca Rapasa tries to get his 5th win in PSGL PCF2. Alves finally decides this is the moment to come into the pit lane, and Luca Rapasa will move himself very high on the list. He'll just put himself behind Jan Halliday and Angelo Diortentia. He'll put himself equal to Tamas Gal, Mirko Soriano and Joseph Loke if he is able to get a 5th victory by the end of today in terms of overall all-time wins in the second tier.
Yes, that is certainly a list of names you want to be a part of if you are Luca Rapasa. Nelson Alves now come out in just in front of Tony Hitala. Now, of course, both his pit stops are now done. He could be trying to take these hards all the way to the end and able. Those are on lap 20 of 39. And we see the driver just push on. So let's have a look at, of course, first, your positions gained. Brian Modden's had a brilliant race so far, capitalising on all this carnage. He's up 11 places as Leo Lund comes into pit lane. He's your biggest gainer. Your biggest loser is Leo Lund. He's down 8 places from a, of course, 6th place start, now down to 14th as Modler. Now pushing on up here in that 5th place. But talking about your pit stops as well, everybody behind Ryan Modler has made a pit to both their mandatory pit stops, and then from Modler upwards. So Modler's also talking Murphy and Rapasa. They still have to take one more, with Nelson Alves being 23.2 behind your race leader as Rishan Jacobs makes his way through on Gregory Prajibal through the tunnel.
He does indeed. So that is now 11th place in the race as he makes his way by at this moment in time. So the order currently goes Rapasa, Murphy and Talkie. That's your top 3. 6 seconds gaps all the way through, even to Diego Zorzo P4. So they've got quite a lot of buffers between them. The closest battle on the circuit that is developing is Lot versus Liam Stevens. Lot running in 8th position, Stevens in 9th at the moment, and Liam Stevens finding himself 8th in the championship. He had a retirement to start the season when it came to Australia. A 2nd place at Spa, and then a disappointing result last time out for him at Texas, where he found himself finishing in 16th. So really, it's been Spa that has been the highlight of his season, and unfortunately, as it stands by his high standards, it will be a point finish, but it won't be something that he'll be too pleased about. Into the pit lane we now come with Modler.
Yeah, Modler into pit lane. He's about to finish his 2nd stop as Alves now sets the fastest lap of the race. Something I want to point out as well, Omi, here is look at that gap between Rapasa and Murphy now. It came out the pit lane. Rapasa was 4 seconds clear. That gap now 6.5 in the span of 6 laps. This race, he's really put his foot to the floor. Last lap he was 3 tenths quicker than Joe Murphy, and we're going to see Rapasa and Murphy talking into lane once more. Alves set the fastest lap. Rishan Jacobs has now just beaten that, and that gap now between Rapasa and Alves 20.4 seconds. So we could potentially see Nelson Alves take back-to-back race victories. You can't count that one out because he's been absolutely flying since he's gone onto those slicks. And he's brought that gap down by 3 seconds. And I think Rapasa has noticed that. He's responded by coming into pit lane. These are crucial moments in this Grand Prix.
Critical moments then as we see another set of the hard compound of tyres go on for Luca Rapasa. We jump on board with Nelson Alves. He's making his way through Anthony Nose at the moment and blasting down The start finish straight. There we go. We get the rejoin for Luca Rapassa, but Alves is going to be getting closer. There he is in the background now. You'll have these tyres up to temperature. Can he use it in the opening sector of the race? He doesn't have much battery to do so, but can he use the opening corners to get himself close? It looks like it was just that little bit too far, but Max, as you mentioned, it was so important for Rapassa to respond. Had that even been one extra lap, that could have gone so much more differently. Rapassa has the track position.
He certainly does, and that is very true. It could have been one lap later, Rapassa coming out just behind Nelson Alves, and that could have been game over in terms of this race win. Of course, these two in the championship picture, the 4th, 5th and 6th, top 3 in the standings, with Rapassa and Alves tied on points as it currently stands. So don't actually rule out Murphy coming up behind Hitala. So we could see Hitala make his way to 3rd place in this race and pick up his 2nd podium in a row, being his 2nd podium in his PSGL PCF2 career, as we see Leo Lund now pick up the fastest lap on those hards. So, Hitala picks up a 3-second time penalty, so I say that could have been his podium. It might have just gone out of arm's reach with that 3-second time penalty, but still plenty of action to come, still plenty of laps to go into this race here, Omi, and many more drivers can pick up those penalties.
They really could as well. So we've had a very interesting season where we've not had a repeat podium sitter, by the way. You have so across 3 rounds you have 9 different possibilities of drivers that we can have, 3 of course each round, and we've had someone different across all 9 slots so far. So if we want to talk about how wide open this PSGL PCF2 season is, well, there you go. We've not had someone take 2 podiums across this season so far. So are we going to be getting to anyone doing that by the end of today? Are we going to get our first repeat one? Surely we will. It is round number 4, but stranger things have happened in PCF2 before. Of course, this is season 41. F2's been in operation since season 29, so plenty of seasons of racing, and it's never been closer. Into the pit lane we go with Joe Murphy.
Yep, Joe Murphy now into pit lane. This is crucial to see where he now comes out in relation to everybody else around him. Onto the set of the hard compounder tyres. He will go, and we'll now meet for him as he trundles down pit lane. Come out behind Hitala, well clear of Keaton Lutt, and he now, of course, trying to push on to hunt down Hitala in front of him. Ryan Modler is actually all over the back of Liam Stevens as he's trying to hunt down, of course, Keaton Lutz as well. As they now make their way up into turn 1, we're going to see a move from the Ferrari. No, we are not. Just have to sit behind for now. Of course, the crucial thing as well here, Omi, is the fact that Luca Rapassa is stuck behind Diego Zorza at the moment, and that's really helping Nelson Alves to keep with the Red Bull driver. The thing is, he just doesn't have that grip out of the corners compared to the Red Bull to try get a run potentially out of Portier into the Nouvelle chicane, as we see Gregory Pragibel now unfortunately retire after speeding into pit lane. Rapassa still having to hang on to the 3rd place for now. Torquay and Zorzo do have to come in again. This battle for the race victory not over yet.
Really isn't as well, and while Diego Zorzo does need to make a pit stop, as you mentioned, he can play such a huge part in this. Laurie Tulke comes in, so this battle now becomes for the overall lead on the circuit, but realistically, Diego Zorzo holding up Rapassa is keeping Nelson Alves in the mix. Okay, this is getting very close now between Imtiaz trying to get to the inside line of Rishan Jacobs. The teammates go wheel to wheel, and that is so close between the pair, and Jacobs stays ahead. It was a look to the inside for Imtiaz. He has nothing more, and he has to stay in behind.
That was extremely aggressive from the V-car pair, and luckily no contact was made. And for Rishan Jacobs, he's able to make his way up into 10th place. That's away from his teammate, who of course is not missing his front wing, but he is visually on the game. Ryan Modler still over the back of Liam Stevens. Are we going to see a lunge to the inside of Mirabeau here? No, we are not. Behind once again. Zorzo has inherited this race lead. He is the last driver that needs to make their 2nd pit stop. He is going to have to come in rather shortly, and that could on this tour of the circuit, as we see Cobbler once again try to get a run out of Portier as we now make our way down into the Nouvelle chicane. Is this finally going to be the opportunity where he sends it to the inside line? It is, but he's just not close enough, just not brave enough, but goes into the wall, taps the wall with his left front, and we have a late virtual safety car here, which is now added fuel to the flame and added to the drama. If you're Laurie Tulkey, you're going to be kicking yourself because you could have just had a cheap pit stop.
Absolute drama here in PSGL. That is the risk if you look or attempt at least for even a half move around this circuit. Yep, a virtual safety car for the moment. Lutt's got a drive through for speeding under said VSC. The dot hasn't appeared on the map, so we are still assuming it is the virtual and not the full course safety car that needs to be deployed to bunch the entire field up. But Stevens and Lutt both using this moment to dive it in to the pit lane, and this is going to be a perfect opportunity now as the DRS gets enabled. So actually, in the case of Diego Zorza still having to go on and still having to push on, the virtual safety car not out for too long. So we're back up to racing speed basically very much straight away.
Yeah, we certainly are, and that's disaster for Ryan Modler. He was having such a good recovery at that point. And yeah, unfortunately, when his teammate Ranieri's into pit lane, and for Ferrari, it's been a disappointing driver going to be scoring any points. Ranieri's nearly going to be a lap down at the stage, but here we are then, exiting out of Anthony Nose, the final corner. Zorzo still leads the way from Rapassa, then Alves, then it's Itala in fourth, but he holds a very narrow 1/10 advantage over Joe Murphy for that third place in this race. Alves got to think it's now or never if he wants to get this move done on Luca Rapassa here, Omi. He's not going to be able to get past once that Mercedes driver makes it clear.
You know that Rapassa has the pace to pull away, so Alves has to come up with something magical now. He has to do it at this moment, while Rapassa is occupied with being stuck behind that Mercedes car that is ahead. This is a perfect opportunity to strike for Nelson Alves. He just has to wait for the right moment, just get close enough and look for a dive bomb opportunity. He's had this moment now to get the battery back that he had to deploy and use quite a bit earlier on. Now he's got the chance to save that back up and get ready for one big attack. It'll need to be one big attack for him to try and make his way through. This is full race victory. Diego Zorza still needs to make a pit stop. So if Alves does get past Rapassa and does get into second, that is big. That is major in the context of this race. Rapassa will know that, so he won't go for any kind of crazy move for the race lead. So Alves will have to just try play this one calm, try play it cautious, and try and get his way by. Fastest lap of the race, they're going to Joe Murphy, P5 driver, immediately being beaten from the driver directly in behind, Laurie Torquay.
Certainly was. Look at that from Joe Murphy. He was 3 seconds behind as they started that last tour. He found 2.5 seconds on Tony Hintala in the space of one lap. He's flying up to the back of that Haas driver. Able to fly up to the back of the Haas driver. He's going to be able to fly up to the back of Alves and Rapassa at a rate of knots. But are they just going to get stuck in this stalemate at this current moment? Able to get any moves done. We're still Alves, but not close enough. Hitala, you could see Joe Murphy looming large in the background, just trying to pick off this move if he possibly can now with the traction into potentially Raskas. That could be an overtaking opportunity. He's actually picked up front wing damage. That's how hard he's pushing as Joe Murphy. So to have this pace, even with front wing damage, that is absolutely insane here. As in the actually further back is Ranieri versus Lund. No move being made there from the Ferrari.
Here we go, after seeing a lot of the race with so many big gaps. It's finally all beginning to close in just that little bit into the first turn we go. Hietala has a penalty. Murphy will want to get by though on the circuit, and you can see he's trying it up the hill. That is brave into Massenet, and he backs out of it. He found a car length, and if Murphy gets a car length, he is going to go for it. And right now Hietala driving on the mirrors, looking left, looking right. Can he try and keep Murphy behind into the braking zone? A good defense there in the middle because Murphy was always going to send it to the inside. He's trying to go all the way around the outside. That is brave. Can he keep his foot in? He nearly heads into the wall. He's looking for every single way through. It's not coming his way by, and still he's staring at the back of the Haas rear wing.
Yeah, he's going to be so frustrated with that, not being able to get the move done first time around. Is he going to look for it here into the Nouvelle Chicane? Is he going to send it to the inside? No, he is not. What about the exit low? Up into the back. That'll be audacious and that'll be bold. Is he going to look for it? Oh, did jink out to the left-hand side. Of course, Joe Murphy took up his maiden podium last time out in Texas. This is the same as Tony Hietala. They're both squabbling for a podium position. Of course, a penalty is going the way of Tony Hietala. But, of course, if that could have been an unfair penalty, it can still get removed. It's still very unofficial at the moment, so Murphy will want to get this one done to just remove the stewards from the equation. So, heading in to turn one, is this going to be the opportunity? Because, of course, now Murphy's got his teammate Larry Tulke sitting behind him. Up into Massenet we go, trying to swoop it around the outside. Hietala holds firm. He keeps on to this position, and Murphy will have to potentially look once again into Mirabeau.
Can he do it? Can he do it? Not as close as he was last time by, and then this is where he was trying to go for a bit of a late move round the outside, and you can see different racing lines not working ideally. Larry Tulke is all over the back. Now this is what Alves kind of needs in the battle for the win to happen to give himself a chance, because now look how much close Larry Tulke is to his teammate. He's absolutely there waiting for his own opportunity, so Murphy has to be careful with what move he attempts to make, and could it be costly? Could it mean that he is heading backwards? Murphy has the advantage, but just not being able to get by due to the nature of this Monaco circuit. But Murphy versus Tulke, the two teammates driving for Alpine, they could be battling very, very shortly if this continues. Round anti-nose we go. Could this be the opportunity now finally coming Murphy's way? Good exit.
It is certainly a good exit from Joe Murphy. He makes his way into turn one. He needs a good exit out of here now. A good slingshot behind the Haas, who's had a little bit of a slide. And once again, heading up into Massenet. He's going for it this time around. He's been left ruined by Hietala. And to the inside goes Joe Murphy. Is he going to be able to pull this one off? They're still side by side as they now make their way at the top of the hill down into Mirabeau. And he is ahead. Joe Murphy finally cracks the code and is able to break free from Tony Hietala. As further back, Larry Tulke now trying to swoop this one around the outside. We saw this from Joe. That won't work. And this time, as we head into lower Mirabeau, Larry Tulke is now going to be the Alpine trying to get past the Haas. He's been overtaken by one. Will he be overtaken by the other? A big slide there. Might have just opened the door for Tulke, though. As we head through the tunnel, they're side by side. Can he get it done into the Nouvelle Chicane?
Major speed stuff. We now get on the brakes. That was so close through the tunnel there, and we just about got away with it without contact at that specific moment, but we were so close to contact. The opportunity didn't materialize when they got on the brakes. Into the pit lane we go with Diego Zorzo. Well, he stuck it out there. He needs to make another pit stop, and now Alves needs basically the laps of his life if he is to find his way by. He's got older tyres we have to remember as well, so now it's a chance for Rapasta to just pull away. So this is the main battle that we'll be looking for. That could definitely see a switch. Now this is where Murphy has been so quick, and Tulke would have been assessing it, watching in behind. Now he's the one who's having to try and pull off the amazing driving, trying to pull off this move. He's following so closely. Could an opportunity now come his way in a few meters time? He's darting left, he's darting right, still no way by at the moment, and Hietala still has fourth. Remember, Hietala does have a penalty, but just to keep the race progress up, it is just what Larry Tulke is having to do. Diego Zorzo, by the way, is slotted in to P6. Now let's see whether Tulke can make the move. He's very close, Max.
Yes, he certainly is indeed. Is this the move into the Nouvelle Chicane he's been looking for? As Hietala's defence still too strong. Parks his car in the middle of the road. And Hietala just able to hold on to now. But a good exit out of the Nouvelle Chicane just isn't allowing Tulke to draw alongside. Hietala really defending and really having to work for this one to just try and keep hold of his position. And the more they squabble, the more they invite Zorzo, who made his pit stop. As now to the inside goes Tulke. Just not close enough into Raskas, bumps him through Anthony Nose. It really is kicking off here between the pair. Just the difference in cornering speed is being on display here as we now head into the first corner of Sandovot. And Tulke not able to get the move, but is he going to be able to get the run? Yes, he is, as we now head up into Massenet. Is he going to look to the outside, or is it the inside? Again, Hietala parking his car in the middle of the road. This is a real demonstration on how to defend in Monaco.
It really, really is. Two drivers pushing it right to the edge right now. Absolutely great to watch. And Diego Zorzo is loving life. The gap is coming down and down and down. There he is in the Mercedes car. And can he try and salvage something out of this? This is absolutely on the edge stuff between them. really, really great to watch, really great to see. And now Larry Chalky still close, still on the back, but still not through. This lap he was slightly more further behind. As expected, Rapasa, by the way, has pulled the gap. He has got a 2.7 seconds advantage. He is doing Rapasa things, and he has dominated this race. Is really going to become the deserving winner here from the streets of Monte Carlo. But I still don't know how this battle is going to go, because it has been so close. And right now, Larry Chalky needs a good exit round this part of the circuit, down towards Saint Devot, and then up the hill to Massenet. Will it be coming his way? Let's find out. Throws the car in. It is going to be a good exit there, and he's definitely going to be getting closer. Now needs to utilize the battery. Now needs to try and look for a move. Will it be round the outside? I think Hietala will have that one covered. Can he carry the momentum? Now he's hit the wall. He's hit the inside wall. He's nearly gone to the outside wall there as well, and luckily he's got the car still intact, but he's got a gap that he's lost a few tenths in. Now has to close it back in.
He certainly does, and he has picked up a little bit of front wing damage, just like his teammate Joe Murphy did. Now on display, but is it worse than what we saw from Joe? And is that now going to put pay to Larry Chalky's attackers? Look at Diego Zorzo. He has flew up to the back of Hietala and Larry Chalky. He could potentially now get a move done on the pair of them, as once Rapasa crosses the line, we'll have 4 more racing laps here in the Principality. And the mistake did come the way of Chalky, the one trying to put the pressure on Hietala, and able to pull things off. As look at that, Diego Zorzo now within DRS range. Are we going to see the Spaniard be able to get past the Finn as we now make our way up into Anthony Knows? DRS will be open for Diego Zorzo. Is he going to try to send this one around the outside? And just look at that, as easy as you like, with the DRS, had the superior battery. Next on his list will be Hietala, and will the Haas driver's defence come to an end?
Yep, surely he'll need to, because Diego Zorzo's flying. Well, he is flying, but maybe not able to get by there. Wait a couple of meters. Wait a couple of corners. Back down the inside line. Not even a contest. That is how 19 lap hards compare to 3 lap mediums. So say goodbye to Diego Zorzo. We'll go back to our enduring battle for P5 between Hietala and Larry Chalky, because that one will surely be continuing and will surely continue to get frenetic between them, even though Hietala does have that time penalty, which we've already mentioned. Chalky, just for his own satisfaction, I'm sure will want to find his way by and will want to get through. We're running out of laps though. Rapasta's inching clearer and clearer. 5.3 seconds is the gap. Wow, he has really utilised the clean air and now is on it.
He certainly has. He's just blew away from Nelson Alves. We see Chalky now to the outside of Tony Hietala, and hasn't going to be able to get the move done into the Raskas. This is him now slowly bringing in Liam Stevens, actually, as this carries on. So not only one car could catch up to the squabbling pair, now another can. But look how much time they've lost to Diego Zorzo. He only overtook halfway through this lap. He's already 4 seconds clear of these two squabbling away. That just shows the sheer grip difference from the mediums to those hards. He's so frustrated if he can't get by here on Tony Hietala, and into the wall again goes the Alpine. He's trying to apply so much pressure here, Omi, to the Haas driver. He's starting to make the mistakes himself.
Yep, that is how it can go around this Monaco circuit. You try focus on one thing, and then just because you're so desperate to get through, it just leads to a few others. Well, these are great points, and I'm sure he'll just want to stay there because, as we've mentioned, he will get that position anyway. But he is really pushing on. He just needs to keep this car, though, in the race. So important. So important out there on the circuit that he does so. We're on, by the way, this race is absolutely flown by. We're on the penultimate lap of the contest now. Lap 38 out of 39. So we're about to make our way on to the final lap, but we still don't know who's going to finish ahead in this battle. On the racetrack, on the circuit, we already know how it'll go when it comes to the timing board, but you can... Oh my word, now it is going to be decided on the circuit. Larry Chalky going all in, and he's got himself a penalty.
Oh, disaster then for Larry Chalky, as he's now going to be trying to squabble away as much as he possibly can here with the Haas driver of Tony Hietala, as this will now mean everything in terms of track position. And look at Liam Stevens behind. He's now like, hello boys, I want to enter this squabble. Don't mind if I do on this final lap that we'll be heading to in a couple of moments time. Just look at that gap between Luca Rapasa and Nelson Alves. He's heading into the swimming pool chicane. Alves just coming out of the Nouvelle chicane. So for Diego Zorzo, he now could potentially get involved because he is potentially cozying up enough to have an attack on Joe Murphy in the final lap. A little mistake there as Rapasa now starts the final lap. This is going to be such a dramatic final lap here in Monaco.
It really, really will. Round the final corner, Diego Zorzo has to send it, but make sure he doesn't bin it because that's the way he was driving through that final part of the lap because he knows he has to get the gap as close as possible. We make our way through Sandarot, 7/10, 6/10. It's really much. Definitely getting closer. Now, what about the next few couple of corners? This will decide things, and then it'll have to be a crazy move come the final stage of the lap. Downhill we go with Diego Zorzo. Murphy is still able to cover that one absolutely perfectly over to the widest possible line put around this part of the circuit, and you can see now Diego Zorzo's got a big chance. He's got the battery to use. We make our way through Portier. This is for the podium position here on the streets of Monte Carlo. Diego Zorzo trying to find his way by. Is he going to be able to do it as he tries to get himself to a 5th podium in PSGL? PCF2, he can't do it into the Nouvelle chicane. That was the main overtaking opportunity. And while these drivers battle on, we're into the final corners of the race for Luca Rapasa, who's about to move to an all-time 3rd when it comes to all-time wins in PSGL PCF2 as he takes the checkered flag in Monaco and dominates as he comes across the line to win. Alves in 2nd. Murphy could be in 3rd unless Diego Zorzo is able to get it on a drag race. It won't be a drag race to the line. Murphy will get it by just over a 1/10 of a second. And, well, Hietala on the circuit further back will also just hold on up against Tolki, but Liam Stevens makes it a drag race and misses out in 7th to Lari Tolki.
What an eventful ending that was to what started off as a very slow burn race. And for Luca Rapasa, it may have been slow burn, but certainly was not really too much action coming his way. Timed everything to perfection, and that was utter dominance from the Red Bull driver as Reis Imtiaz will pick up that last point thanks to Ranieri's time penalty. But what a performance that was from Luca Rapasa here. Omi just was never in doubt ever since, the opening lap. Those changeable conditions and the strategy, everything flowed absolutely perfectly. And that's exactly what you want from a man driving for the championship title. And that does now, I think, give him that championship lead, but only just over the likes of Alves and Hietala.
Really, really does. Absolutely fantastic race. Absolutely fantastic stuff. As you look at our final classification, it was Rapasa who came across the line to win. Then it was Alves, Murphy, Zorzo, Hietala, Tulki, Stevens, Lutt, Jacobs, and Imtiaz completing our top 10. Ranieri and Lund were 11th and 12th. And then we head to our retirements of Modler, Prejibble, Bohm, and Tom Roberts, who was the final retirement in the field to complete our Monaco Grand Prix. Our one Monaco Grand Prix that we get per game cycle. And, well, it absolutely did deliver us with quite a bit of chaos. And that is what we expect from the streets of Monte Carlo.
Yes, it certainly is what you expect from these streets. And, yeah, what a race that was. It had everything you could have thought to it. But, of course, head back now to and wonderful faces. But this, of course, now means that Luca Rapasa, I think, will take championship. My maths is correct. Because, of course, he was tied on points with Alves, so he's definitely in front of Alves, and this now should jumping in front of Tony Hietala. So he's fought back nicely from Texas, took the pole, took the race victory, maximum points. He couldn't have asked for anything better from the Dutchman.
You really couldn't have. Our first repeat winner of the season, and of course a driver who gets himself to a, well, podium spot as well. The stat I was mentioning to you earlier. A repeat podium sit-up, considering every single slot that we've had this season in all 3 races. So absolutely incredible, to have a driver do a repeat occasion for that, considering it's round 4. We are going to get to have interviews, and Max, they'll be completely yours as we get the drivers in. And, well, there's a lot that goes on in a Monaco race, so I'm actually looking forward to seeing how or what they have to say. I believe we'll definitely get to hear from Rapassa.
Yes, we are definitely going to be able to hear it from Rapassa. Just waiting quickly to see if anybody else join. Yes, Nelson Alves. I don't think we'll get Joe Murphy. We didn't get it last week. So, with that, Omi, shall we start off with the man who finished in 2nd place? Alves.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds like a plan. Let's get him in, and we can hopefully get some great insight from him out of round 4.
Hello, Nelson. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Well, first of all, Nelson, congratulations on a 2nd place here this evening. Of course, not the top step last week, but still a good solid finish. Just talk us through that one. How did everything go?
Yeah, evening to you, evening to everyone. Yeah, qualifying, honestly, not what I expected. I had pace for a lot more, to be honest, but I battled, to be fair. Not the best quali ever, but then in the race, it was a strategic race, very tough with the mixed conditions. I was struggling at the very start of the race with pace, was not feeling good with the car. And then I decided to risk to stop again for Inters to try to make an undercut of the guys ahead and do the arts to the end, which happened only to 2nd place, but Luca did a good job. He covered the undercut of me, and then he just didn't risk it trying to overtake Zorzo. He knew that Zorzo had to stop again, so he just kept his place, and then the 3-lap delta in the end, I almost got a puncture, but it was a very decent race overall.
Yeah, it was a very deep race indeed. Of course, once the track begun to dry, was it difficult to tell when that slick period was, like visually as well with the circuit? Because for us here on the commentary box, the track looked bone dry for a good 5 to 6 laps when those inters were still quicker. Was it difficult for you as well in the driver's seat, or could you feel a lot in the car to know it certainly wasn't?
I mean, we all know what the game is, so like visually, if you look visually only, lap 8 it's the right tires, but it's impossible. The track was still very damp, so, but visually you can't see, it's just all by feeling, so it's not easy to tell, but of course feeling wise you can have an idea. And also you have people earlier trying to go to the slick tires, so you use that as a comparison, and you know when to do the pits for the slicks.
Yeah, that's absolute perfection especially on those that 2nd set of inters. Oh, you did that absolutely perfectly. Of course, you saw Luca behind Diego. Was it just kind of like teasing you in a sense that Luca is right in front of you, the man you need to overtake for the race victory, just didn't have the grip and the car and the pace to be able to get by? Was it just so agonizing, frustrating sitting behind the Red Bull?
Honestly, it wasn't, because as soon as Luca came out of the pits, I knew only a miracle or a mistake that he made will give me the win. So I knew with a lap delta, even if we are on the same tire age, I just couldn't overtake. It's impossible to overtake. You need the tire advantage. And when I saw Zorzo so many laps there, extending, I was hoping Luca going for a move to maybe cause an incident. But that was just all praying. I was trying to put a little bit of pressure only visually on the mirrors of Luca, but yeah, I couldn't do anything as well. So I just stayed there and did bring the car up, honestly.
Yeah, of course. It does add to the championship challenge. Be a total of, if my maths is correct, 5 points behind Luca Rapassa now. So of course you're tied on points going into this one. Now 5 behind. Next week we head to Austria. Gonna be looking strong around there. You confident?
Yeah, hopefully I look strong. I've been looking strong the last few races, so I want to keep this momentum going. And yeah, as I said the last race, I'm here to win the championship, so I need to try and win every race.
But of course, congratulations on that 2nd place, Nels. Yeah, congratulations. Hopefully next week, commentary box again.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, guys.
Right, Omi, that Alves. Next, we'll head over to your race victor at Rapassa then. Hello, Luca. Can you?
Yes, I can.
Well, first of all, congratulations on what was a dominant race victory in the end. Just talk to us how it went from your point of view. How was that race?
Yeah, of course. I was quite happy with quali. I know Nelson and Tony especially had a lot more in the tank, but they couldn't, yeah, achieve it. So I was happy to be P1. Then when it was raining, lap 1 was I was in the wall almost every corner. It was really tricky, but then got into a rhythm. Was just able to drive away. Had such a gap I could just respond to others and just drive my own pace basically. Chose the perfect lap for the last stop, right after Nelson. I tried overtaking Diego once, but I was like, I'm not taking that risk. He has to pit again, so I just sit behind until he pits, and then I was just able to drive easily away from Nelson. So yeah, that was my race.
Pretty calm for a majority of it after the first lap or so, but yeah, of course, I asked Nelson this as well to see how it felt for him, who's changeable. Just how difficult was it to find when it was time for the slicks? Because visually for everybody, it was bone dry, but the feeling of the car must have been so much different that it was so difficult to tell when those dry tyres were the optimum.
Yeah, because on the telemetry it said it was gonna dry up halfway through the race, something around there, and then it was around like lap 7 and it stopped raining, and I said like, it stopped raining already, and from that point it was just driving until someone behind me made a pit stop, and I think it was Tom was the first one. Why I could just see on the minimap yellow flag, so I knew just stay out. Leo pits, like 2 laps later was the same. And then I was just responding to the other people that already pit. Like when they started to go a bit faster than me, then I just pit and I could just do my own thing again.
Personally done. Indeed, of course, this race victory now takes you top step once again. Does it feel nice to bounce back from Texas in this way?
Yeah, really nice. I've got like Texas. I don't know. I was fast to practice. Just had a not an ideal quali, and then I had big screen freeze again, which dropped me like 3 or 4 places after stopping. So it's nice to come back after not an ideal race like that.
Yes. One last question, Luca. We head over to, of course, Austria next time out. How are you feeling around there? You feel confident?
Yeah, Austria has always been decent, I would say. There's a lot of RNG on that track, so it's going to be quite tricky again. But yeah, I feel quite good on Austria.
Yeah. See you in the commentary box once again after we head over Syrian Hills, and yeah, congratulations on the race victory and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.
Right then, Omi. That is everything from the driver's point of views. We've heard from our race victor and the man in second place of Rapassa and Alves. I think that is pretty much going to sum up this evening. It was a great race for Monaco standards. You would have thought it would have been potentially very much won on lap 1. I mean, it technically was with Rapassa leading the way, but still plenty of action throughout this field and a lot of drama to it.
Yeah, it was actually a bit more of a chaotic end than a start, which is it's usually the opposite way when it comes to Monaco as well. But the driver we were just hearing from, Luca Rapassa, second he finished at Austria last season. So, well, let's see whether he can do one better. Let's see whether he can get a third win of the season and get himself to the victory at the Red Bull Ring. But he's had good running there so far on this game cycle. Liam Stevens, by the way, was the winner of the race, so he also bodes well for him to try and fight back after a very much rough start to the season by the standards that he set across his time in PCF2. But yeah, I think that sums it up. Thank you very much, Max, for joining me once again. And I think it's looking out to be a good season.
It certainly is indeed. Quickly though, before we head off, make sure you guys check out our sponsor, Sim Racing Setups, for extra performance in your F125 cars. And it's also been created by PSGL drivers. You've got esports, stable and wet setups for every circuit, alongside the quali and the race setups too. Optimal race strategies, you get free meta setup updates, so they constantly update to change with the game. They're created by drivers racing in PSGL and Pro support, and they're compatible with all console and PC. And they're all setups are just from $49.99, and you get 5% off by using code PSGL. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be all from us here this evening. It's going to be an absolute cracker out in the Styrian Halls. It's tight at the top of the standings, and make sure you stick around. It's 8 PM GMT next Thursday as we head over to Spielberg. Make sure you don't miss that. Hopefully I'll be back in the F1's box. I would love to come back once again, but if not, it'll be Corey once again alongside Omi. Thank you for allowing me to join you, Omi, this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure, but thank you all very much for watching. This wouldn't be possible without you guys at home. Stay safe, stay well, and we shall see you next week. Thank you all very much for watching.